Happy Friday morning, everybody. My name is Eli Robinson. I am the Chief Trivia Officer here at Water Cooler Trivia. Water Cooler Trivia is a weekly trivia game designed for companies all over the English-speaking world to play with their coworkers, to stay connected to each other, learn a little bit about what's going on in the world, and have a good time. You can find us online at watercoolertrivia.com. We have a 4-week free trial for anyone in any company that's interested in playing. You can find me online at TikTok, LinkedIn, at Chief Trivia Officer. We come here every week to go over the last week's game, talk about what people know, didn't know, etc., what surprised us. So let's jump right into it. So we had 5,037 users play the game this week, an average of 7.49, a little bit lower than we've had in weeks past. Still pretty happy with it, our standard median of 8. I think the thing that was most interesting for us this week is this is the first time in a long time that the most commonly scored answer was not a 9. Most of the time, 9 seems to be where we land. So the fact that there were a lot of 8s really makes us happy. I think this is very close to what we would call an ideal distribution. I would want perfect scores to be a little bit lower. 10% is still pretty high for a perfect score. I would say we want those between 5 and 8%. But otherwise, this is the type of distribution that I think we're ultimately aiming for when we write our quizzes for the week. This week's game was all about Ukraine and a little bit of a light touch, so let's get into it. Question 1, you've probably seen it all over the place recently. Ukraine's flag is yellow and a different shade of which color found on the flag of the United States? That would, of course, be blue. A lot of people wearing pins and various other things celebrating Ukraine. Number 2, you not say Ukraine weak, says a proud subway-riding Ukrainian to Kramer and Newman right before smashing their wrist game in the 6th season of what 90s TV show? That would, of course, be Seinfeld. For those of you who have not seen the clip, it is unbelievably hilarious and unbelievably iconic. Did not know that it would make a reappearance here in 2022, but very entertaining for everybody. Number 3, Ukraine shares land borders with 2 R-word countries, Russia and what vampire-heavy nation that's about an 18-hour drive from the capital of Italy. That would, of course, be Romania. 95% correct. Good job, people, on that one. Number 4, The Ring ran the 2009 article, What Are We to Make of the Klitschkos? About Vitaly, the current mayor of Kiev, and Vladimir, championship brothers in what pugilistic sport? That would be boxing. They were both heavyweight champions, I believe, but both been retired. And one of them, I think, married to Hayden Panettiere, maybe? Or ex-husband? I'll have to look that one up. Number 5, before he was elected president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky starred on the TV show Servant of the People as a normal guy suddenly promoted to what very high Ukrainian government position? This would, of course, be president of Ukraine. Now, I'll talk a little bit about this question. This is, without knowing it, you would imagine that this would be a very difficult question, right? Because this is a weird fact. However, I think that the way that we structured it, it's ultimately meta enough that, like, most people's most common guess would be president of Ukraine. So there is an interesting question I think we should ask, which is like how many people actually knew this before we asked the question versus like how many people were able to just say like, oh, well, it must be president of Ukraine. We obviously got a litany of wrong guesses that were prime minister and secretary of whatever and like et cetera, which are all like make sense. But I found that we structured this question in a way that I thought was very fair. And the fact that 71% was very appropriate for how we wrote it. Until 2017, Truskavets, Ukraine was home to Eternity Restaurant. It was an eatery run by undertakers in a wooden building that Guinness certified as the world's largest what? That would, of course, be Coffin. Unfortunately, it closed. The image of it is very hilarious. Way lower than we thought. Ultimately, perhaps it wasn't intuitive enough what was going on here, but at 38% correct, this was significantly lower than we thought. I guess we thought that Coffin was the most reasonable guess, and it's probably the most common guess at 38%, but we got a whole bunch of answers all over. I hope that if people were at least entertained by learning this fun fact. Question number 7, if a tourist's poo turns a bit red during a visit to Ukraine, they might have been eating what beet-based soup that they call their national dish. That would be borscht. For those of you who enjoyed the potty humor, you're welcome. For those of you who did not, I apologize. Borscht, of course, one of the words in English or Ukrainian or Russian, whatever it may be, that is like nearly impossible to spell. So we took a very lenient approach to how we allowed borscht. I don't know what percentage of people actually spelled it correctly. It is not very high. But then again, when you have SCHT or RSCHT, 5 consonants back to back, you're going to find yourself obviously in a difficult situation. From a spelling perspective. Number 8, the first athlete to jump over 6.1 meters, Ukrainian Sergei Bubka, broke the men's world record 35 times in what track and field event whose name includes a demonym for Ukraine's western neighbor. That would, of course, be the pole vault, pole being a word that you would call someone from Poland. Thoroughly enjoyable that a number of people put things like the Austrian pole vault and the Hungarian pole vault and the German pole vault and things like that. We counted that correct as pole vault was there, and at least you theoretically knew what it was. The miss on the demonym really entertained us. I also would love to see what the Hungarian pole vault is relative to something else. No one said the Polish pole vault, which I guess makes sense if you caught the demonym part. Born Vladimir Palunik to Ukrainian immigrants, actor Jack Palance was 3 Oscar nominations deep before he finally struck gold as Curly in what 1991 Billy Crystal Western comedy? That would be City Slickers. Thought it would be more popular. 47% is pretty hard in our game. I reckon that it probably skewed a little bit older people who knew this one. I'm assuming there's a number of people who thought that they'll be stunned to see that only 47% of people got this right. Hilarious movie. Very entertaining for those looking to kill 90 minutes. And finally, question number 10, Ukraine could get super rich on clean energy since it sits on a massive supply of what? Number 3, that of course the atomic number element used in electric car batteries and psychiatric meds. That would be lithium. A ton of lithium found in Ukraine. As you can see, standard kind of start with the easier ones and get to the hard ones. Coffin and City Slickers, certainly more difficult than we would have expected, but still really enjoyed the game this week. Once again, we saw a type of distribution that we would really want to be aiming for in weeks to come. My name is Eli Robinson. I'm the Chief Trivia Officer here at Water Cooler Trivia. Feel free, visit us at watercoolertrivia.com. Let's talk trivia. Let's talk how we can keep your office more connected, and you can find us online. Until next week, keep on tripping on.